Hello and welcome to 10-Minute English. This is a course in English, first of all in listening to English. It's intended for people who already know a little bit of the language. Listening is, of course, the first skill that you learn. Most people learn their language from their parents or carers. When your parents look at you to admire this new baby that has arrived in their lives, they speak to you. Of course, it may be baby talk that you hear, but that is the first introduction to that mysterious thing called language. You may have older brothers and sisters, and if you do, you will also hear what they say. You will, from the very start of your life, become used to the sound of people talking. Recently, my eldest son and his wife had a daughter. She's now 3 years old, and her name is Ella. I've learned a lot from her about the way children learn. Last year, at this time, she was unable to speak. She said words, but I myself could not understand anything she said. To me, it was just a kind of childish babble. However, she was obviously listening to a lot of language from her parents and also from her grandparents, like me. Now, at the age of just over 3.5, she produces her own grammatically correct sentences. She has learned it all just by listening. She has not had any English lessons. She's simply surrounded by people whose native language is English. So that is how I want you to learn. Now, of course, you may say that you are not 3 years old. You may be 12 or 20. You may be retired after a full lifetime of working. So, the question is, how is that similar to Ella's situation? Well, there are some similarities and some differences, but the key is that first step, listening. During this course, I will speak in authentic and idiomatic English, in other words, real English, but at a slower pace than you will normally hear. One common complaint among those who learn English is that people speak too fast. I, therefore, will begin quite slowly. Then, over the course of several months, I will gradually increase my speed. Why will I gradually start to speak faster? Well, eventually you will have to cope with all kinds of spoken English and to English speakers from all over the world. Therefore, I'll introduce at a later date all kinds of different people, both children and adults, and you will be able to hear everything of what they say. Some of what you hear will be from people whose native language is not English, but are speaking in English. For example, they may want to communicate with other people whose native language is not English, but for many people, English is the common language that both of them understand. It is important, of course, to listen to a wide range of people, because many of the people you hear out there in the real world will be just like you using English as a second or even third language. Of course, listening is not enough. To be competent in using a foreign language, you will, at some point, have to become used to speaking it. This means that I will, at a later date, introduce some exercises in which I will give you the opportunity to speak. You don't need to worry at all about this. The important thing is to be relaxed. Don't be afraid to make mistakes, because that will simply prevent you from speaking. Just speak slowly and unself-consciously, and don't worry about getting the grammar in the correct form. It may be that you will get a few things wrong, but that's no problem. Everybody makes mistakes in their own language, never mind in a foreign language. I will, in future talks, provide a wide variety of spoken English that you can listen to. Everything from a discussion about pop music to aspects of English history. From popular science to current affairs. From the interesting places you can visit in a city to celebrity gossip. As I said, as I go along, I'll also introduce other people, both children and adults, and they will provide a different range of accents. I also want to give my talks in different locations. Perhaps you will see me in the centre of my hometown, which is somewhere in the middle of England. You will find out where exactly I live in my next video. That is in 1 week's time. At other times, I will travel to other towns and cities in England and in the rest of the United Kingdom. London, Manchester, Edinburgh, Belfast, Cardiff, and many others. I will, during these visits to other places, provide a short video about interesting places in that city. Britain, just like any other country, has an enormous range of interesting places. From the majestic cathedrals of Lincoln and York to the bustling metropolis of London and to the villages of Wales, where there is another much older language than English. I'll also record some of the local people who live in those places. The United Kingdom, or UK, has, like every other country in the world, an enormous range of accents. Later on, after this lockdown ends, I hope to travel to other countries, some of them English-speaking and others where English is virtually unknown. As I speak, in the middle of May 2020, Britain is in lockdown. In other words, we are expected to stay in our houses, except for shopping and to seek urgent medical care. In Britain, this situation has lasted now for well over 2 months. It started on the 23rd of March. Some people say that when the crisis is over, society will have changed in many ways. For example, schools may not be able to go back to how they were before. It may be necessary to employ what is called social distancing. This means that we will have to stay at least 2 meters away from people who are not members of our immediate family. Still, there are benefits as well. The air is much clearer and cleaner since there are far fewer cars on the road. As in many situations in life, there are good aspects and aspects which are less good. Now, it is true that the best way to learn a language is to go and live in a country where they speak it. But, of course, many people can't afford the time to go and live in that country for a few months. For others, the cost of going overseas may also be a problem. All of my talks are intended to last around 10 minutes. I think 10 minutes is an ideal length of time, allowing you to make progress, but not so long that you get bored. After all, the important thing is to make progress, to listen and to have fun. Don't forget to press that subscribe button below. My next video will be in a week's time. See you soon!